we'll do after we adopt the agenda is
Okay.
read her thing.
All right. 6 o'clock, call the meeting to order. Item 2.0, need a motion to adopt the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
So moved and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 2.0A, action to approve the clerk for April 14th, 2025 Board of Education meeting.
And that would just be that Emily Salyers will be the acting board clerk for the Board of Ed meeting this evening.
So moved.
So moved
Second.
and second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 3.0, approval of minutes, March 10th, 2025, regular meeting minutes, and March 24th, 2025, special meeting minutes, pages 1 through 5. Need a motion?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Item 4.0, consideration of bills and warrants, pages 6 through 28.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Hearing of requests and suggestions of citizens and organizations.
Don't see anyone that's not on the agenda.
That's not on the agenda.
Yep. I think everyone that's
Seeing
here
none,
is.
hearing none, we'll move on to 6.0, special presentations.
And so the first one will be an update from the middle school leadership class.
Hello, my name is Ashley Linnebert, and I'm with the Parsons Middle School Leadership Team. And a couple things that we've done in leadership we've done Traveling Tuesday, where every single Tuesday we go travel to different schools, like we've done Read Across America for the kids. And we've made Christmas ornaments, we've made projects, a tutor in math, and reading. And we have Workday Wednesday. We've cleaned around the school and the staircases and all that. And Thinking Thursday is we do homework and we do whatever needs to be done. And we have celebrated Board Appreciation Month, cleaning around the middle school, filled bags for care cupboard, planted flowers and bushes around the Statue of Liberty in the front of our school, Stella Wells food drive at the middle school, filled Stella Well boxes, Spear Week planned by the leadership class, Read Across America, went to Lincoln and read books, created positive posters to hang around the School of Leadership, participated in a school assembly Stand for the Silent, which Stand for the Silent is talking about mental health for teens, teen suicides. Kaylee has been doing the announcements all year, Kaylee Leon. Sold bracelets and tattoos at the basketball game, Veterans Appreciation Night, Breast Cancer Aware Appreciation Night, visited businesses around town to hang posters up for the Veterans Day game and practice our speaking skills. The project that we are working on now is cleaning the north vestibule going into the gym. We would like to have tiles replaced, walls cleaned, and repainted. We want to have a huge Viking head with Welcome to Parsons Middle School on the wall. On the wall above the stairs, we would like to have graffiti wall with handprints. That way, of our class of 2029, we have a way to remember our class. Corey Wright has been working with us to come up graphics for the wall. We would like to see new doors installed, ones with doors in them, so it doesn't look like a dungeon when out-of-town people enter our school. We would like to see that in our plans next year, if not this year. Hopefully for next year, before the next sports season starts. My apologies. Since getting doors is not an option for this year, we would like to have doors at least painted and the staff-only sign removed. We would like to have a sign entrance for the public to know where to walk in for the games in the gym.
thank you very much for coming. I know your class has been really busy and done a
Yes.
lot of things this year under the leadership of Ms. Schaefer. So do board members have any questions?
Are you an 8th grader?
Mm-hmm. I'm an
That
8th
was
grader.
so impressive.
I thought you were her assistant.
That's nerve-wracking to talk to a Board of Education, though. You did awesome. Congratulations.
Yeah, very good.
You can
Good
tell you've been
job.
working on your public speaking. That's
Thank you.
amazing.
Now, when you talked about the graffiti on the wall for your leadership class, yeah, not your whole 2029, just you guys leave an imprint from what all you've done.
Yeah,
Yeah.
to put an imprint on our school.
And if you've ever gone to a middle school game or activity where you enter through the gym, those doors, they don't look like entry doors. They look like maybe you're going into a closet or something like that. And so I think back when the renovation was done, at the end, then they were trimming some money, that might have been an area that they
Talk
they
about a
cut-
dungeon, I remember what it was like.
the renovation. Yeah. And so we've looked at doing doors there. Those of you that were on the board a couple years ago will remember when we redid those doors, the lintels above those doors had rusted out, which I didn't even know what a lintel was. And so then just a door replacement, because we had doors that wouldn't shut, then turned into a lintel replacement, which then turned into some wall bracing. So they were about $66,000 a set. We can assume that we can have those inspected, but we're looking at a pretty substantial amount of money to replace those. But they've come up with some great ideas so that we could mark it better, so that it's clear, things that are painted, so it looks more welcoming. And I think cleaning up that area as you come in is a great idea. They've done a lot of service projects for the community this year. So it's been a good addition. You've done good work. Good job.
Thank
Good
you.
job.
Yep,
Yeah, thanks for
Thank
coming.
you.
no problem.
Thank you, and thank you to Ashley. She has just blossomed this year with her leadership, with her skills. I'm just so proud of her.
All right,
right,
thanks for
thank you.
coming.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate it. And we're going to, we'll have Laura come up first and introduce our next two
okay.
guests.
Laura?
Good evening, everyone. So really, I just wanted to present our next two presenters. So how they came here this evening is because the two presenters are going to talk about primarily our commercial property insurance. We have EMC is our carrier, and that's through our local broker, which is Wood Insurance. So Bob Woods is here tonight. In Kansas, there really are not very many options when it comes to commercial policies. It's not like your auto insurance where you can just get online and compare a lot of options because there's a lot of competition out there. But when it comes to our commercial policies for property insurance, there really is really only two options. So we've been with EMC, we've been with Bob Woods for a very long time. They have, a lot of our claims that we've had is mostly on the auto side. So, we haven't had to deal, in recent years, any kind of like catastrophic claims where we had those kinds of incidents. But in preparing for those things, some changes that have been made with EMC have kind of brought these things to the forefront. Is their increase in deductible, so it would cost more per incident per school. So that is something that has recent changed. And also they're changing coverage on our roofs. So our building roofs are covered at their actual cash value rather than a replacement value. So they're not going to cover what it would cost, say, an older roof to replace because those older roofs have low value. So I think it's good for us to kind of do our due diligence and consider our options. They both have some good things and some bad things. Our presenters will do a very good job of letting you know their strengths and what they can bring to the table for the district. So I did want to bring it to the board just so we can have some information. There's no action this evening, but I'm hopeful that this will create some discussion and some some, consideration on where to go from here. So without further ado, I'm going to have Tom McGuire from Gallagher Insurance. He's representing the Kansas Insurance Cooperative for Schools, which is the only other realistic option in the state of Kansas for coverage like this, other than EMC. Those are the two. So other schools have considered KICS, KICS. So there's some information in your board packet, and I will turn it over to him.
All right.
Good evening. Thanks for allowing me to come. I will try to be as brief as possible on this, but want to make sure I get every question answered. I know this is not a topic that anybody really wants to deal with, but again, Tom McGuire. I'm with Arthur J. Gallagher out of Kansas City. I've been working with school districts in Kansas since 2010. In 2010, I began partnering with Kansas Association of School Boards. The reason that we were partnering with them was to try to bring some competition into the marketplace for school districts in Kansas. We did so with a actual insurance carrier named Wright Specialty from 2010 through 2019. The reason we chose them was they had the ability to do a guaranteed cost, kind of more like traditional insurance plan, but our plan all along was once we got enough school districts into the program that we would flip it into a pool, which is, they had an arm that was able to do that, so it made sense to partner with them. In about 14 or 15, they sold that arm that did the pooling, and so we just continued on with insurance carrier Wright Specialty until 2019. In 2019, right before 2020, right before Christmas, they decided to exit the marketplace. It was not because they weren't profitable, they just decided to deploy their capital to other areas of the country, which was their business decision. At that point, we had started in 2010 with 0 school districts in the state. We had about 60 or so but that we had written into the Wright Specialty program. We looked at various options of what to do with them at that point, and we decided to join in with a pool that was started in 2015 that was called Kermit at the time, that has been rebranded to KICS. At that point, we merged those school districts in 2020. And so we had about, 70 or so school districts in 2020. As we sit here today, we have 153, I believe, in the state that are utilizing the KICS insurance program, which is an insurance pool. And the reason we wanted to do a pool even from the inception of the partnership with KASB is because we've seen these work all throughout the country. Kansas, for whatever reason, was a little bit of a late adopter to the pooling arrangements for governmental entities, but AGRIP, which is an association, has estimated that about 80% of governmental entities countrywide participate in a pool of some sort. So this is, in a lot of cases, the norm for governmental entities, whether that be a school, a city, or a county, to be in a pool. This is a border-to-border solution in the state of Kansas for all but a handful of school districts. We are probably never going to go after the Shawnee Missions, the Blue Valleys, the Wichitas, the very big school districts. And the reason why, which is the kind of the point to this story, is because they're already doing insurance exactly the way that we're doing it in the pool. Essentially, what we are doing is aggregating all 153 members and going to the marketplace as one big entity. The reason that we are not targeting those larger districts, they're doing this. They do it on their own because they have the budgets to be able to take on $500,000. They take on bigger retentions than we do in terms of on the casualty side. You know, they're already at the percentage wind and hail deductibles that we're seeing in the state, and so it just doesn't make any sense for them to join. So when we started, like I said, we were at about 60 to 70 when we first started in that 2020. We're up to 153 now. We added about 55 or 60 school districts in the last year. The reason that we are growing at such a rapid rate at this point is for a number of reasons. And I don't want to go through this document that you have page by page because that would be boring. One of the main reasons why entities are joining the pool, it's a member-owned and member-run pool, meaning that every member gets a vote in how the pool is administered, what we offer to each of the members. They get to vote on loss control that they want to see in the pool. So you really have a say in how the program is run. We were administered by a board of directors of 7 superintendents, CFOs from the various members that sit on the board. It kind of works opposite of like a school district where the board vets a lot of the things that we would bring to them as recommendations, and then they turn around and give the vote to the whole entire group as to whether or not we want to move forward. The board members are on page 4, the current ones. They serve on 2-year terms, so, if you wanted to have somebody from the district run for a board seat, you can do that whenever those become available. You can also see the growth from 2015 to 2024. Page 5 shows our map of members. As you can see, we're spread out throughout the state, which is great for the spread of risk that we have for the various coverages. 6 shows you a listing of, it may not be completely up to date. We've had some join on off renewal dates here recently, so we may not have exactly everybody on, but that's most of the ones that are there. The highlights, like I said, on page 8, it's a member-owned. There's board of trustees. We have 2 annual meetings that we like to have members participate in where we're doing various votes on what we're doing with deductibles and things of that nature. One of the things that most of the entities have liked that have joined, it's completely transparent. You will know where every dollar is going. We give the financials. Everything is set. You know how much is being paid for claims. Every single penny is documented to you so that you know exactly where things are being used. We have dedicated loss control, dedicated claims, all that kind of good stuff that's on there. And if truth be told, the real reason people are joining is the rising cost of insurance in Kansas and really throughout the Midwest. Premiums continue to increase. We're still seeing some of that in 2025 and some of these renewals that we've already done that we've competed against and won. We are still on a per occurrence flat wind and hail deductible. This program looks exactly like a first dollar program to you, just like what you're currently in. But we still have a flat per occurrence wind and hail deductible. So meaning there's no per building, there's no percentage, there's none of that. So and it's just done by your total value of your buildings, and then it's just different tranches of levels as you get bigger. And then probably the big driving force is we are not putting any limitations on roof age for replacement costs. So there's not a certain age of roof where all of a sudden if you have a hail claim that you're getting a depreciated roof value like with an auto claim. So ours are full replacement costs no matter what the age of the roof. Those are really the driving factors that are moving people in our direction and why we've seen the rapid growth, especially in the past year and a half or so. I'm happy to say that last year we delivered our members a flat renewal, so they didn't pay any more than what they paid the year before, minus maybe if they added a building, they obviously did, or more autos, but the rates were the same. And we're trending to give another flat renewal this year. So the reason is pools are made to stabilize premiums. And as they grow and get bigger, we're seeing that to where we've gotten to the point that we're stabilized in the marketplace. And again, we're associated with our partnership with KASB has been, in some cases, a big deal to some districts. Other cases, it hasn't been a big deal at all. But we do have a relationship with them. Every member that joins helps to keep rates down for all the members for their services. We talked a little bit about member engagement. We have pool attorneys, we have loss control, we talked about that. And one of the things that we do that maybe is a little bit different, and we've actually seen this be a benefit, is we do third-party on-site property appraisals for all of our members. You're going to know what your buildings are worth. That's been one of the big issues that I think has gotten insurance carriers across the Midwest in some trouble, is that buildings aren't valued correctly. And then they have a claim and they're not taking in the correct value. They either can't rebuild. You look at like Joplin, what happened with their claim. And so it's becoming more the norm in the marketplace. Even our accounts that we work with outside of the pool, traditionally will get a property appraisal. So we feel like it's very, very important process of this to make sure that the carriers are comfortable with what we have. What I really wanted to talk about tonight, and before I turn it over for any questions, is you should have had a page that kind of looks like this, that was part of that. And this is the current program as it is put together right now. That with our growth, we may do some things different for the renewal. The renewal is almost done. It'll be done in the next 30 days or so. And so there's some options on the table that we'll actually bring to the membership and see if they want to do. But this is the current structure, but it'll look very similar to this. So really what you have is that horrible yellow color there is where your deductibles sit. So like we said, the property deductibles will be based on your total insured value, especially on the wind and hail. Then we have, and it's built-in towers, so that far left tower is your property tower. Then you have general liability, employee benefits liability, law enforcement, that's included, law enforcement liability. Auto liability is that third tower. Fourth tower is the school board legal, and which I think you probably refer to it right now as linebacker coverage. And then we have crime. Then we purchased 3 coverages outside of the pool: equipment breakdown, cyber, and pollution. So you'll get a full pollution policy with as part of being a member, which is typically something that we don't see in school districts in Kansas. So what you're really concerned about from a deductible standpoint is that yellow layer. And so we haven't even gotten far enough with you right now. I don't even know what your total value of insurable buildings are, but say that you had, $50 million of total insured value, then maybe your wind and hail deductible would be $50,000. If you were $100 million to $150 million in total insured value, maybe it would be $75, but that's like on a per occurrence basis. Where the difference comes in is in the two, the kind of greenish level there, and then that, I guess that's purple. That is, and we make no bones about it, there is a shared layer within the pool that we share among all the members. So blue and above on the top, that's for the insurance carriers. We cut kind of the primary layer of insurance coverage out, and we fund for that with the membership. And then we reinsure on top of that. So we kind of cut the traditional insurance that sits low on the right after your deductible is paid, and we push those insurance carriers further away from those low dollar claims that they don't want to pay. And we fund that by looking at each member's loss runs and then charging an amount that's called a loss fund amount. And that is an amount that is determined by a third-party actuary that comes in and says, with 153 members and with this type of claims activity in the state of Kansas, this is the number of the dollar amount that you need in the loss fund. And so what we do is then, based on your loss runs, we have that formula, and we charge an additional amount on top of the reinsurance piece. That amount is kept over on the right side in what we call a loss fund for just funding the deductible or the self-insured retention. It doesn't have anything to do with the insurance carriers for a catastrophic claim. It's just for those lower dollar claims that we can handle within that retention limit. Our goal is to handle as many claims as possible within that limit. We want the reinsurance carriers to touch as little claims activity as possible, but they are there for things like the Andover tornado that was a member of the pool. So when it gets to those more catastrophic claims, then we have that reinsurance backstop. But we had a hail claim last year that got into the insurance carrier's layer. That's the first claim that got into their layer since the Andover tornado. And that's how we want it. The less that they have involvement, the better rates that we get. And so if there's a claim that gets into that pool SIR, then the pool administrators, which is Gallagher, who I work for, goes in and grabs the money out of the loss fund, whether it be a claim here or a claim out in Goodland, pays that, which is part of the claim with the adjuster. The claim is paid and everybody moves on, and the carriers are none the wiser other than when we turn in what we paid underneath those retentions. Last year, we also added what is called a corridor deductible, which is that purple layer. Just an additional deductible on top of the pool SIR. The reason we did this, the carriers wanted to sit a little bit higher over the first dollar claims than what we wanted to at the beginning. They gave us a break on the premium if we took on the additional layer. It was basically a dollar for dollar trade. The difference is if we don't use the corridor deductible, we get to keep that money within the pool. So anything left over on the loss fund and the corridor deductible, we get to keep at the end of the year. So we fund for that the exact same way as we do the pool loss fund. It just goes into a separate fund. The thing about the corridor deductible is as we use it, it depletes. Once that is gone, then the reinsurers just then sit after that 1.7 is gone right on top of the green. So it's basically a one-time deductible that erodes as it's used. The green resets for each claim. And so essentially, like we said, the goal is to eat as many of the claims within that layer. The reason why we're so confident in this working is Gallagher is probably the largest broker of pools in the country. We work with almost 130 pools countrywide and have done so since the mid-1980s was kind of when pooling really began to catch on. Of those, we administer almost 130. We've never had a pool fail that Gallagher has worked on. We also, because of our experience in them, we do things that maybe are a little bit different than maybe some of the other carriers that are involved in pools. So if you look at like where the pool loss fund is, we buy aggregate stop loss insurance on top of that, so we insure the loss fund. The reason we do that is because one of the worst words that can be uttered when talking about a pool is the term assessment, where you can come back in later years and say, oh, we didn't have enough money, so we have to come back and get you for additional funds. The pool aggregate protection gives you protection that we're not going to have to do that. What I can say is in those 130 pools that we have structured in this manner, we have assessed members within those pools a grand total of 0 times. So it's hard to really talk about something that's never happened at this point. But the state of Kansas, who we go in front of in the insurance department on a quarterly basis to give financials and talk about where we sit, make sure that everything is fine, states that I have to tell you that it is technically an assessable pool. We feel like we've taken that with the protections that we've done and taken that down to really a non-issue for you. The Most of the pool SIR deductibles are $100,000 minus the property, which right now sits at $600,000. That layer, frankly, it's probably going to go up this year because as we grow, we're going to keep pushing that up because we're going to get better rates. The great thing about the pool right now, or one of the great things about the pool, is those reinsurance dollars that are spent, everybody pays the same thing on the reinsurance piece. So there's the loss fund piece, that's based on your loss runs on the loss fund. But on the reinsurance rates, everybody pays the same, whether you are Meridocene Valley, which is one of the smaller ones that we have in there that I work with, or whether you're Lawrence, who's also in. So those rates are standardized, which kind of takes out the fact of one of the things that I do need to tell you too is on the front end, it's a 3-year commitment. And the reason it's a 3-year commitment is pools thrive when they're stable. The markets want to see them stable. The members want to see them stable. And so we have a 3-year commitment on the front end. So if you join, you are a member for 3 years, at which point you can get out after that. That we don't apologize for the 3-year commitment because we do think this is the best possible market for school districts in the state of Kansas. If you look at the states around Kansas, most of them have a pretty predominant pool that handles most of the school district business. Look at Missouri, it's I think like 97% of the school districts in Missouri participate in their pool that's structured exactly like this one. So Gallagher does that pool as well. So kind of one of those things, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. So we would obviously love the opportunity to come in and give an option for you. We are confident in our ability to perform with this pool. You are free to call anyone that's on. We give you the whole membership. Anyone can come in and say, oh, here's 3 people to call. You can call whoever you want that's in that membership and ask questions about it. So with that, I've probably bored you with some pretty technical and boring insurance things, but I'm willing to answer any questions that you may have. One thing I do want to state, because it is very, very important, before I get to the questions. 9 of the 10 years that we have had, 8 of the 10 years, sorry, that we have had the pool in place, there's been a fairly substantial surplus in the loss fund that we've got to keep. 2 years we have gone through the loss fund and into the aggregate stop loss protection to the tune of about $40,000. So we have gotten into that, but in both cases, one year it was like $18,000 and the other year was like $32,000 that we got into it. But we buy a couple $1 million and it may grow with our growth on that. But a big distinction is if there is a storm, say there is a storm, especially let's say it's a hailstorm that enters and hits. A perfect example, we had that derecho storm a couple winters ago that came through with all those high winds kind of north Kansas, and it hit 10 of our members. Every member got their claim paid, but one distinction I do want to say is that the pool SIR of $600,000 was paid one time. So same storm hits different districts, it's only one $600,000 for the actual pool. So we're to the point where we're dictating a little bit to the market what we want to have done rather than 10 separate $600,000. So that's one of the ways that we help protect that loss fund.
Any questions, concerns?
So after the 3-year commitment, is it year by year after that, or equivalent to another 3-year term?
No, it's a year by year after that. The only thing you have to do that's different is on or before February 1st, prior to the renewal, you just have to let us know that you are looking at alternatives. And the only reason why we do that is because the other members go to the market as one big group, and you will still get a renewal, but your we have to tell the markets that we're not sure if it was you that let us know if Parsons is going to be in on 7-1 or out, so you get underwritten on your own. Once you are in the pool, the bylaws state you cannot be kicked out.
Okay, that was my question. You can't come back after 2 years and say, never mind, you're out.
Yeah, no.
You guys haven't raised your premiums in 2 years, but
So-
this year you're anticipating,
Yeah, we did not raise them last year. From the rate standpoint, we are not, at this point, it does not appear that they're going to again this year. That's not to mean that in those COVID years, when I think all of the insurance carriers took liberties with raising some rates, that we didn't see some rate increases, but at the last couple of years, we have not.
so if we're in, say, year 3 of our term, and is there any type of premium rate increase is there any type of a cap or anything?
There's no cap. No, you are, it is, the interesting thing about that is the insurance, like we said, the reinsurance rates are the same for everyone. So there's there's really no scenario in which those insurance rates are going to cause any difference because they're going to be standardized across the block of business. It would only fluctuate due to increased exposures and/or loss history of your own. That would be the case even if you were outside of the pool.
Any other questions? Okay, thank you,
We
Mr.
Thank-
appreciate you doing
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
If there's any other question, I don't know if you want me to hang around, I can in case there's other questions that come up. It's kind of, I'll hang around.
I'm sure we'll come up with more
that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
later.
And Dr. Quirin's not here yet, he's on his
Yeah.
drive back, so he may have a few questions.
Yeah.
That's fine, I have,
So,
this is fun for me, so. My dad was a school superintendent, so I grew up
All right,
in this environment.
Mr. Bob Wood.
And you have Bob's packet, you dropped it off today. It should be in the stack of. Yeah.
Oh,
Hi.
hi.
Thanks for letting me come. It was interesting to hear the concept of the pool. Obviously, something we're familiar with, and I've seen a lot of districts go through the same study, that you're considering. They're different. They're different. They're apples and oranges. I don't care who's the apple or who's the orange. They're just not quite the same. The EMC program has been here for at least 40 years, offering, the safety dividend group that does kind of pool all the schools that are with EMC together too, and then pay a dividend in years when they've had good experience. The fearful thing that I see in this situation is that we know that EMC's only made money in the school business maybe 30 of those 40 years, or 10 of those 40 years. They've lost money in the other 30. The reason that they can do that is they're a multi-line insurance carrier. They sell to manufacturers and to contractors and to retail businesses, and where they might lose money in one segment of their business, in the school business, like they have quite often, they can make it back up in other areas and still return, have a good return for their company. The fearful part that I see is that if they get to the same point and have the same volume of schools that EMC's had over that period of time, it's hard to think that they're going to have better experience than what EMC has had. And when you're with the fully funded carrier, EMC absorbs the losses. They don't come back and have a corridor deductible. They don't come back and increase. Things are just, they've increased things across the board lately because of what he just mentioned. Valuation increases, higher storm activity, that sort of thing. It's going on everywhere. But if they do have that negative experience in the pool, or if you do in a pool, it's going to be up to the pool members to pay for those losses instead of for the insurance carrier to do it. We're talking about this without seeing numbers from either entity. You know, at this point, I don't have your renewal numbers yet. I do anticipate them being much more calm this year. We're kind of getting through, you know, the inflationary jumps that have taken place over the last 2 or 3 years have been huge. I mean, they've really pumped the values, but I think as we look at the values per building that EMC has kind of dictated to us, that it makes a lot of sense. If you study building a new building, a new school, you know, the valuations that we have, for instance, on the high school or the middle school are justified. It was interesting to hear you talk about the middle school. I worked hard on that bond issue back in the day to get that work done, and I remember we did have to cut back on the gym.
I knew there were a few things, yeah.
I just wanted to get rid of where we had to run man makers when I was in Wayne Valley's PE
That was the
class.
number one thing to get rid of, right?
Yeah. So, anyway, it's been you know, we've had a long partnership with the school district, and we really care about what happens here. And so does our staff. I think I've got 6 PHS graduates work in my company right now. So, you know, there is that local level of care and attention. You know, I'll open it up for any questions you might have of me, but until we can come back and look at what the numbers are, it's going to be hard to discuss it further.
Right.
Yeah. I do want to mention, I mean, you can come and go from EMC at any point in time, so there's no 3-year commitment. And it's just a little bit of a scary deal if you commit to somebody for 3 years with no idea what they're going to do in years 2 and 3. So
But EMC can drop us. That's.
they can, yeah. They haven't.
No, not yet. Yeah. And so, I mean, and there was a little fear of that last year, remember but we got through that. We worked through that paperwork.
Yeah, they shot themselves in the foot on that at the beginning of the year last year. They came out with some, what we as agents felt were knee-jerk reactions to the marketplace and what was going on, and initially announced that they were taking even a higher deductible structure than what they ended up doing. They thought about it and figured out it was the wrong thing to do. They lost several districts over that. And they lost several because of the age of building issue, too. USD 503 historically has done a great job keeping your buildings up to date, your roofs. I know we just redid the middle school. Work was done at the high school. So as long as those roofs have been replaced or refurbished, and they're less than 15 years away from that, you're getting replacement cost on them. But it's just those that are over the 15 that go to ACV. And replacement cost insurance, in theory, shouldn't be roof replacement insurance. I mean, if a roof has gone 15 years and it's beginning to show age and on its useful life, it shouldn't be on the insurance company necessarily to have to replace 100% of it. So ACV makes sense a little bit in a marketplace where that wasn't a deal where we could always sell replacement cost on roofs. It was great, but you know, as you think about the theory of it, it does make a little sense that as they get old, you know, those districts that pay the money to make sure the roofs are up to date and make sure, you know, they're in good condition should have a benefit of the replacement cost coverage. Those that ignore it should pay the price.
Because you have to pay for it either way.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which is fair.
So there's a lot of different things to debate about the pros and cons of the pool versus full insurance. And again, until we get some numbers in front of us and see what we're looking at, then we can have that debate.
Well, we appreciate you coming. We've had a long, good standing working relationship. We know if something happens, I know who to call.
You do, and I'm 5 minutes away, so.
Yeah, and I appreciate that.
You know, and we value that relationship too, and hope to continue on.
Yeah, we appreciate that. We just know as we look at budgets as a public entity, we've got to be, you know, do a market test of some sort and make sure we're in the right spots.
I
So,
understand completely.
Yeah, I know, and I knew you would, so and I
Yeah.
appreciate that. So we'll have to get some numbers and then we can talk again.
Good. I should have mine by this time next month, I think.
Okay.
I've got some preliminary, I think your work comp's doing a little better. It's going to go down. I think your cyber will go down. And then we've been given an indication the property should be pretty sane, so.
Good.
I believe it when I see it.
All right, well, we'll look forward to it. Thank you very much for
Thank
coming.
you.
Thanks, Bob.
Thanks for all you do.
Yep, we appreciate you.
Jeff missed the, Mr. McGuire's presentation, so I don't know if you have questions, just looking at the,
No, I'll review the material.
I don't think we
All
should
right,
make
so
that
he-
guy
he
wait
Educate
here.
myself.
Yeah, no, I think we're good.
so he probably doesn't have to stay.
No.
Yeah.
So,
So, Mr. McGuire, I think you're good. Mr. McGuire, you can drive home, both of you.
Yeah.
You have a shorter commute, Mr. Wood.
Thank
All right,
you.
thank you very much, both of you,
All right,
appreciate it.
thanks. All right. Item 7.0, accountability plan reports, kindergarten readiness and early learning opportunities, Shelley Gardner and Whitney Spencer.
And this is always the fun time at Lincoln when they're recruiting all the little kids and looking forward to next year. And so she handed out a packet to you, so you'll want to get this out so you can refer to it as she's sharing all of the info.
Not the insurance is boring. But let's talk about some fun stuff. So we kind of handed out a packet. We can start with this first page. You want to talk to me? Sure.
And this is so exciting.
I know,
It really is. So we're trying
We can
something new this year. We're changing our kindergarten enrollment to be because typically it's in August. So we're trying to do it before school's out, just to get our numbers and kind of see who's in our community that needs to come to kindergarten. So we created a brochure that we're going to mail out. I'm taking them to the post office, all 3,000 and something that we printed for our community on Wednesday. So, May 1st is our kindergarten enrollment this year. It'll be from 8 until 4 o'clock. Parents will come in and enroll their child, and then we will do our KRT, Kindergarten Readiness Test Screener. Our title aides will be doing that for us since they're already at school working that day. So pretty much,
And we have the QR code. that They
Yeah.
can just scan with their phone.
Yeah.
And it goes to Sign Up Genius. Thank you, Matthew Peak.
yeah.
And he has got it all set up where they can do appointments, and we're gonna have so many appointments per hour.
That was genius. That
And
was smart.
then,
Yeah, so we'll see how it goes this year.
I think that was so smart to add a QR code.
Yes.
and we have, the flyers were donated.
And
Yeah.
who was it that printed those?
Flesh.
Flesh. So
They
Flesh,
printed these for free.
so Whitney's, it's your-
Well, my
Someone-
father-in-law works there, and then Megan's dad.
the secretary's dad works there, and they said, we need to do this, how much would this cost to print? And Flesh looked at it and said, oh, well, we'll print those for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and we can mail, and then Whitney had called the post office.
Yes.
And you can mail them for
22 cents.
22 cents a piece. So we're hoping they get in
They
everyone's,
have it in the post office? No, I'm just kidding.
but 22 cents a piece was a good deal. So, and this way, when we look at our kindergarten numbers projection based on what we have currently in pre-K 4 and then possibly some Head Start, that, we're at 56, which is considerably lower than where we want to be. Now, when we look at birth rates, we knew this was coming. Maybe not to that degree. We do believe that there are kids out there or parents out there that say, let's look and see. And that way that they can scan the code, come and look in the building,
And we
visit.
have, like, each year we get, after school starts in August, we'll get kindergartners come in and their parents are like, oh, we didn't know it was time. So just that advertisement. And we also made signs that we put outside of our school, and we're gonna put them at Garfield and Guthridge as well. So we do have more of these if you guys want to take some and put them up wherever you want.
And we put it on
So-
Real Share, so it's been on like Facebook and all that. So if you want to share them.
I'll put this in Ben's office.
Oh,
That
yeah, we
would
can
be
give you some.
great. Yeah, have a stack back
I'm not really
there.
sure if it's legal, but
And
we
you
can do
can
it.
keep these.
Yes.
Now these.
But these, you have to give back.
Yeah. So in your packet, there's also a kindergarten readiness screener. So this is what the students will be doing. There's 8 subtests inside of here. It takes about 30 minutes to go through. And it's just to see where the students are, because there are expectations for coming in to kindergarten, and we just want to see where each child is and like what we can do to support them. And it's also a good communication with parents, because after we score these, we immediately give the parents a form that has all the scores, and it's a good conversation and things that, hey, over the summer, here's some, yeah, so it's,
Because the goal is to meet every child where they are.
yes.
And so, and in order to do that, we have to have data.
Yeah.
It can't just be, well, you're 5, so you know, that's, and
And then we
then,
can support them right off the bat. I mean,
Yeah.
like, we'll know exactly where they need help.
and a parent will too, so then a parent knows, oh, maybe it's like visual discrimination, maybe things they're looking at, they need to be able to describe, and it's just questions that they can ask and talk. And then we do,
The ASQ. So this is required by the state of Kansas, and this is something we've been doing since forever.
it feels, yeah.
So
when I
there's
was
two
doing it.
parts to it. There's an ASQ2, which is your social, emotional, behavioral, and the parents will fill this out. And this is actually done electronically now. Again, we have a QR code, and it takes it straight to Lincoln. So in August, during regular enrollment, the kindergarten parents will come back in August, and they'll do the ASQ, and then we also do a parent presentation. So they become familiar with our teachers and, you know, what Lincoln, yeah.
Procedures.
Yes.
And ASQ stands for ages,
Stages questionnaire.
Right, and it's
And
for-
then number is just this series, so it's the second series, edition.
And we can't do that with the KRT right now because it has to be a certain amount of time before
It's a
they.
window.
Yeah,
Yeah.
a window, a testing window. Otherwise, we
Yeah.
give them both now, but with the testing window, we can't do
Yeah.
that. But KRT will give us some good data, and then they can come back and talk to teachers and.
And
you
the
know,
KRT is you know, like the teacher gives that, or the
Right.
ERA. But the ASQ is all parent filled out.
Yes.
So
Parent,
sometimes
yeah.
it's a different view.
Perspective.
Yep, parents know their child best, so we want to know how the parents see their child. The ASQ3 is a developmental screener, and that starts as young as 1 month, and it goes up until 5.5 years. So based on this child's age is what screener they use. In the past, we've always just given the QR code and had the parents fill it out at home on their own. But since we're asking them to come back in August, we're going to have them do it there at the school. Because part of the STAR recognition program, we have to have 50% of our kindergartners have these filled out, but to get a 3 or 4 on this rubric, you need 95% filled out.
And that's what we're going for.
Yeah, so if we just make it part of our enrollment process, okay, this is a requirement, we're gonna fill this out, then,
And if you need a computer or any tech help,
Yep,
it's
we'll have it
right
there.
here
And we
during
have
the day.
kits already
Yeah.
that we can just have out there so they can use, you know, like the
Yeah.
scissors and the blocks or
Yeah.
whatever they need. We'll have that too.
yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I think you're going to get a better response.
I sure hope so.
Yeah, and this is great.
Yeah, it was very exciting. I wanted them to come and share. They have good, lots of good early learning. And so we have 3-year-old pre-K, and do we have spots?
We have, in fact, I just looked at it today. So we have 7 spots left for 3-year-old pre-K and then 15 spots for 4-year-old, because we have the 2 sections of 4-year-olds with 14 in each section, so
Filling up.
filling it fast.
And that's good. And so currently this year, we've not had a sustained waiting list for 3 or 4-year-olds.
For 3-year-olds, we do have a waiting list. For 4-year-olds, we've gone through the waiting list. So we don't have anybody on the waiting list because we just took our last person off there.
Yeah, and so for 3-year-olds, about how many have we had on that list?
It was full.
It was, you know, then I think after that, it's probably around 6 or 7. I think there were still waiting. You know, and some people had to go other places or decided not to send their child. So, yeah.
And sometimes a 3-year-old will start, and then everyone realizes they're not ready for school. And that's okay. They can come back as a 4-year-old.
Oh,
so.
absolutely.
So when these are sent out, is it the full page or the
Yes,
folded?
it's exactly like, no
Yep.
folding. It's exactly like
That's
this.
how it
This is
goes.
how they get in the mail.
22 cents for that.
22 cents.
And
I
this-
had to
yeah.
create a page and account and everything, so I learned a lot
Even if
about
we
the
did a little
postal.
one, it would still be 22 cents. So we just
Same
went
price.
the full one.
Do it big.
Yep.
Very good.
You can't miss it. And so
Get it in the mail this week, so.
I'm really looking forward to it. I don't have a kindergartner or pre-K at my house.
But you'll still get one.
I do, and I'll take one, make sure the neighbors
Because you
all
might know one. so.
got one too.
I have to tell you a funny story if you guys have time.
We do.
I saw one of the questions in here for the 60-month. The doctors used to ask some of these questions, and they asked my son to stand on one foot. And they kept insisting, and I said, go ahead. And he went over and stood on the doctor's foot. So you don't know what they're really going to do.
Sometimes they do it literally. So,
So
All right.
we'll just collect these.
sure, we can just pass them back around.
Yeah. You can keep these, you
Do you want
can keep these
these?
if you really want.
The ages and stages they can keep if they want.
I'm giving you mine back.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
And if you want to bring some of those to admin meeting tomorrow,
Yeah.
we can hand them out and they can hang them up in the buildings too. Someone might have a brother or sister.
I don't know if local churches would hang them up. They
See,
might.
that's what I was wondering.
We would.
Okay.
Foursquare
Get 'em there.
probably would.
Okay.
Maybe. I'll ask.
Yeah, thank
That'd
you.
be great.
I'll have David ask too.
All right.
Thank you, guys.
8.0, report from the superintendent of schools.
Okay, let me get this marked off and get my glasses on so I can see what we're doing here. All right, so we did receive in the mail, week before last, a letter from Dr. Watson that said that Garfield had again received the Challenge Award in both reading and math for last year's state assessment scores. So while the Chiefs couldn't do an official three-peat, Garfield did. So we were very excited. And the Challenge Awards are based on a number of at-risk factors. And if you, and then they take state assessment data and there's a formula that they use. So if you achieve higher than your at-risk factors and do well on state assessments, you receive those Challenge Awards. And our third graders outscored the state.
Almost 20 points in math, and we're the highest math scores in the SNK.
Wow.
Higher than the average reading. So we were very excited to celebrate that and those staff. And we also recognize that while that be a third grade award or sometimes a fourth or fifth grade award, whoever gets those, it's really a pre-K 3 or 4 or 5 experience because it's all built on the building blocks. So that's exciting. So we had that to celebrate. Now, we've also celebrated, if you were in town Saturday, there was the prom. Everyone was dressed up. That went very well. And so we appreciate those sponsors that worked at the high school to do that and those parents that sponsored after prom. Kids really seemed to enjoy that. Miranda in our office, her son was a senior, and on Mondays, we always have our staff meeting of like, here's what's going on for the week. Here's, get everybody kind of lined out what we're doing. And he'd won an air fryer. So he was pretty excited about that air fryer that he'd won as a prize. So we appreciate people's donations and just the organization to get all of that together. It was well attended. It was good. So just as a reminder, Friday, we do have school. So on the calendar, that was one of those makeup days for inclement weather, and the board did elect to do that. So we are going to have an inclement weather makeup day on the 18th. Also that evening is our high school play. Now, it's not like a play with costumes and a whole lot of lines. It's a number of kids doing monologues, which I think will be just a different experience. And so that's at the high school at 7 o'clock. Folks are encouraged to come to that. And then Monday, the 21st, that day we will not have school for students. So on Monday, there's no school for students. Staff, we've got professional development that day. And so Jeff and I have been going around to each of the PLCs on Wednesday morning and bringing donuts, because sometimes that helps, talking about changes and things for next year and budgets and all of those things. We'll meet with the high school that morning briefly, and then each of the buildings has things that they're doing, curriculum alignment, standards alignment, they're doing pieces of that. They're also doing transition planning for the following year in each of their buildings. So that's happening on Monday. Now, and then the very next day, we have the Parsons Area Community Foundation is having their banquet. We did write a grant for a portion of the Douglas School Memorial, and we were funded for a portion of that, and so that was very much appreciated. I think Lou's going to go attend with me. If there's anyone else that would like to attend that evening, you're more than welcome. I need to let her know by tomorrow who will be attending. So that is that day. And then we've got band concerts coming up on the 30th. Then May the 4th, that's the PEF, the Parsons Education Scholarship Banquet. And so they will have a number of scholarships to give out that day. So there'll be more information about that. Following week, we've got the elementary orchestra concert, and then the high school and middle school orchestra concert. So we've got May 6th and 7th back to back. On the 9th, if you're just out May the 9th, it's a nice afternoon, you want to go to the park in the afternoon, Garfield does something called Pennies for Poems, and you'll see kids that just line the sidewalks. You just bring your change, you put your change in, it is so fun.
And there's a lemonade stand, so bring extra change.
Yeah, are they having the lemonade stand again this year? Probably with AB,
Raise
so.
funds.
So there'll be some lemonade, but also you can put some change in and hear a good poem or two that kids have really practiced. It's a good way to practice fluency. And then they take the money that they raise, and they vote on where they're going to donate that. So in years past, it's been to the animal shelter and different things. So if you're out and about that afternoon. And then it's already time for high school graduation, which is that Sunday, 2:30 in the afternoon. So you'll be getting, Mr. Marcus will be sending something out to board members shortly about where to meet and what time, see who wants to come and be on stage and do those things. So we've got that going on. And then we'll have our next board meeting on May the 12th. So there are a lot of things between now and May the 12th. And also we have 8th grade promotion, which we just put to mark that on your calendar for the 21st. So a lot of things going on.
All right, item 9.0, reports by Board of Education. Report on March-April Tri-County Board Meeting, Leanne Hunter, pages 29 and 30.
Yes. On March 12th, the gifted coordinator brought some students in. They were a brother and sister, and they explained the projects they've been working on all year. So that was a lot of fun. It's always fun to see the students. Tri-County met the annual federal maintenance of effort on 2 of the 4 areas, and there's only one that's required that has to be met, but Tri-County met in 2 areas. The needs assessment summary was reviewed, which helps the Tri-County Board identify areas of need across the districts. And then there's an upcoming event that's open to the public, the Victory Games, and that's April 16th, so just a couple days away, from 9:30 to 1:30 in Cherryvale.
And you can
Cherryvale
look for
Stadium.
the blue shirts.
Blue shirts.
Parsons, we're going to have these blue shirts. They're so cute. I picked them up from Bleacher Gear today, and they say Vikings at the Victory Games.
All right.
So kids were very excited.
Okay. And then on April 9th, I was unable to attend. I wasn't well, but she sent me the notes, and the early childhood and elementary coordinator presented on early childhood, special education services. Last week was paraprofessional week, and Tri-County employs 190 paraprofessionals across the 7 school districts. And they thank them for their hard work and dedication to our students. And then the annual report on special education performance in each district was released, and the highest level of determination is meets requirements, and each of the districts met the requirements. And she said that shows hard work for all that support the students with disabilities, from the teachers and special education providers to the building principals, support staff, and superintendents. We thank you for all your hard work. And Tri-County is still actively recruiting special education teachers, and she had a list of them. Parsons needs an elementary functional low incidence teacher and a middle school resource teacher as of April 9th. So, but of course, our district will be involved in choosing who that is. So that was it. And we don't have another meeting until after our next board meeting.
Very good. All right. Item 10.0, action to accept donations to schools, page 31. The donations are from February 2025.
Right. So there were none at the district office, or at Lincoln, or at Guthridge this month. Garfield D&E Pizza LLC have made an unrestricted donation of $383.22. PTO also made a donation to Garfield for parent-teacher conference meals, which is restricted, $175, for a total of $558.22 there. Jordan Ozier made a donation at Parsons Middle School for Stuco t-shirts, $50. That was the total there in February. The high school, Ohio Pile Prince, made a donation for the Positive Reinforcement Program, $8.37. Bowen Pharmacy made a $200 donation to the TSA program. Parsons Ministerial Association made a $25 donation to Music Company, totaling $233.37 at the high school. That made the total district donations for February of 2025 $841.59. So I recommend that you approve those generous donations.
Need a motion to accept the donations.
So moved.
Moved.
Second.
Second, all right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Item 10.1, action on the following job descriptions: teacher, librarian, social worker, career and technical education teacher, director of athletics, pages 32 to 46.
Right, and so these were a part of what came from KASB and that were reviewed. They were included in your view on March the 28th. And so I haven't heard anything. I haven't gotten any feedback from anyone about those, but does anyone have anything?
Motion to approve those job descriptions.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Item 10.2, action on membership in KASB 2025-26.
So this is on page 47, those renewals are. And so this is something that we do each year. And so on 47, it's that membership renewal. And we typically do the one that includes the all-season pass, which is an extra $1,750, because then when we attend things, we don't have to pay. Other professional development and those kinds of things, so.
Questions? If not, need a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Item 10.3, action on Kansas Associated School Boards Legal Assistance Fund contract renewal for 2025-2026.
Right, and so the contract renewal is $2,750, and this is so that I can call KASB. So, call Luke. Well, not Luke anymore, so now I call Lori. But that is, they provide a wide range of legal services. They provide all the policies, and then just any questions that we have, or any situations in which we find ourselves there.
We would have to pay a lot more if it wasn't that.
Move to approve.
Second.
It's moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Item 10.4, action on open enrollment capacity for non-resident student enrollment, page 49.
Okay, so there's a new statute that was just out last year, 723123, and what that says is that every public school in Kansas has to post their open enrollment capacity numbers. And they have to do it by May 1st of each year. You have to post it on your website somewhere. And so really what it basically means is, here's how many spots we have at each grade level, the capacity. Here's what we think we're going to have next year. Like, we take the number that are currently enrolled, assuming they go on to the next level, and then what's left would be what would be considered the availability or the capacity. So this whole open enrollment thing, which was quite a discussion last year, I put a lot of things, you probably remember reading about it a lot in the View, because it was so new, and I thought, oh my goodness. It really didn't have a huge impact on us because we have open enrollment all the time. I'm in Parsons. So, but for some districts that are growing substantially, then that, I mean, like Spring Hill, I know, having spoken to their superintendent, that was a big deal there. Not so much here. So on page 48 in your, which is the very last page, it just says, here's what we think are the capacities, here are the current numbers, and here's what we think will be available. And then we do have to list if we have programs that currently are at capacity And so when we look at our middle school, high school, day school program, which is at TEC, and when we look at our high, or our low function, our low incidence classrooms, based on the number of students that we currently have enrolled in those programs that live within our attendance boundaries and the staff that we have available, those are pretty much at capacity. And so someone would have to refer to that policy or give me a call. But that's just something that we need to approve so that we can post this on our website. And it doesn't mean that if we have 120 kindergartners show up, that we can't say, oh, hey, yeah, we can do 120, then I can change this. It's okay. But it's just something we have to have as a starting point, and we have to have posted, so.
All right, any questions? If not, need a motion to approve?
I move we approve this.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. All right. Item 10.5, first reading of middle school course description handbook 2025-2026.
Right. So as you go through here in the next month, if you feel like, oh, hey, what is this? Feel free to call. We'll have you visit with Tyler Gordon or Olivia or Diana Quirin at the middle school. They can answer any questions and are happy to answer questions. Things have pretty much stayed consistent with the course offerings, and that we hope to continue. We have a position to fill in regard to art, but I think we'll be able to do that at the middle school and high school level, so those offerings should remain the same.
I told Olivia tonight in that there's no listing for the leadership class. Nothing about the leadership is in there.
So we were able to do the leadership class this year because we had 3 social studies teachers. So last year, when we had a science teacher that left third quarter, we had a substitute. We did not replace that person based on enrollment. And so this year, with the enrollment, there really wasn't the need, there weren't enough kids to have 3 full-time social studies teachers, and so she was able to pick up one of those classes, and so and the plan was then to right-size that, in that when we have a staff member retire, a social studies person was going to move into that intervention spot, and that would leave 2 social studies. So it would be great if someone else could pick that up. We might be able to look at that, but that's probably why they didn't put it in the book.
No, she said she forgot. They forgot.
Oh, did they forget?
That's
I was
what
going
they
to
told
say.
me.
Yeah. And so maybe they're looking.
We do plan to have that class, don't we?
Well, if they, I don't know. And so it would have to be someone that's on staff that could do that, and that would have time in their schedule. And I haven't looked at their schedules. They haven't built all of those schedules yet, teacher schedules. So if there's time in a teacher's schedule who's interested in that, I know Debbie Schaefer, she's done a great job with that. And it's possible we could pick up some social studies from someplace else. I mean, we're in the process of doing a lot of looking, so. But I can make a note to see if they're going to have someone that's going to be able to teach that. And if they
I think
are.
it's beneficial.
I do too. I agree. It's been really, the student did a great job tonight. Good for her.
They're in every building.
They
Like,
are.
They have been to the high school, the elementary, and everywhere they go, they have rave reviews. So
Exactly.
Yep.
it's a good thing. Good
They've set a
promotion.
high bar. They've done a
Yeah.
good job. So I will ask about that leadership class.
All right, any other questions? All right, executive session. How much?
Oh, we're already there.
Yeah.
God, it went fast. I'd say probably 15, 20 minutes for non-elected personnel.
All right, item 10.6, executive session to discuss personnel matters for non-elected personnel. Anyone want to make that motion as written?
So what did you want, 15 or 20?
20, I think.
Move we go into executive session, discuss confidential employee information pursuant to non-elected personnel exception in Tacoma at 7:15. 20 minutes, we'll return here at 7:35.
Okay, need a motion to approve?
That's my motion.
I'm sorry.
Second.
I'm so used to seeing it
That's
myself.
all right.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right.
All right.
All right, we're back into open session. We will need 5 more minutes, so I move that we go into executive session to discuss confidential employee information pursuant to the non-elected personnel exception under coma at 7:35 for 5 minutes, you say? And return to the meeting at 7:40. Let's make that 7:41.
So 7:36
Yeah,
to 7:41.
7:36, yeah.
Okay.
Second?
Second.
All right. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
social media.
We're on there.
We've gotten word from his parents, so.
All right, we're back on there. How much time do you need for 10.7?
For 10.7, I don't have anything.
Okay.
Unless anyone else does.
How about 10.8?
10.8. 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 10 or 15, probably.
Turn break on that too.
All right, item 10.8, I move we go into executive session to discuss the exception for employer-employee negotiations in Tacoma at 7:40.
What do we say, 7:47, so we have a 5-minute bathroom break?
Oh,
Does that
okay.
work?
At 7:47, which would make that
8:02.
So we'd go until 8:02.
8:02.
We'll return to open session.
All right, need a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, 5
We have a
minutes.
5-minute bathroom break, and then we'll be back here.
We're back in open session. Thank you. We will continue to go into we will go into executive session for 5 more minutes, starting at 8:02, to discuss employer-employee negotiations in Tacoma, and come back at 8:07.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Yeah, I need that all explained, what you mean
Just
by that.
extend longer for like 10 minutes.
Hold on here, hold on.
But,
Are we back on?
yes.
Look at us. Okay. 10 more minutes, is that what you said?
Yeah, stop doing 5 minutes.
All right.
Like, just do longer so we can get it
Move
done.
to go into executive session to discuss the exception for employee negotiation in Tacoma at 8:08 for 10 minutes, and we will come back in this room at 8:18. Need a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. All right, we are,
What she said.
Well, we're not done.
we're back live. We're on item 10.9, action on personnel, resignations from employment with some additions.
Right,
and
that are
the addendum.
on the addendum. So resignations for employment. Kelsey Fabricky, high school, middle school art teacher, and high school Viking Farms teacher, effective the end of the 24-25 school year. Kurt Forbes, maintenance technician, effective March the 28th, 2025. Tyler Gordon, middle school principal, effective June the 13th, 2025. Jesus Medina, second grade teacher, effective the end of the 24-25 school year. Evan Scott, maintenance tech, effective March the 28th, 2025. Mackenzie Gordon, fourth grade teacher, effective end of the 24-25 school year. And Mary Hoffman, part-time custodian at Lincoln, effective April the 10th, 2025. I recommend that you approve those resignations for
All
employment.
right, need a motion to approve those recommendations.
No resignations.
A resig,
Moved in second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
all right, we had one resignation for retirement. Liz Phillips, fifth grade teacher, effective the end of the 24-25 school year. We appreciate the
Yes, we do.
multiple years that she has spent in the district, so she is retiring.
Need a motion for that retirement.
So moved.
Second.
Moved in second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
That motion carries.
All right, we've got some transfers of employment effective the 25-26 school year. Jennifer Anderson, kindergarten teacher to preschool teacher. Wendy Neff, middle school math teacher to high school math teacher. Blake Turner, elementary music orchestra teacher to middle school, high school band and elementary strings teacher. And Olivia Nolting, middle school assistant principal, athletic director to middle school principal, effective the 25-26 school year.
Need a motion to approve those transfers.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Recommendation for employment.
Okay. Oh, here we go. So recommendations for employment. We've got four. Matthew Bird, high school head custodian, effective May the 12th, 2025. Ronnie Hickles, maintenance technician, effective April the 14th, 2025. J.R. Keene, high school automotive teacher, effective the 25-26 school year. And Chris Smith, maintenance tech, effective April the 10th, 2025.
All right, need a motion to approve those recommendations for employment.
So moved. Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. We are adjourned.
All right, thank you.